The Locked On Podcast Network presents the NBA Big 3 in 30. The 3 biggest stories in the NBA from our local experts at the Locked On Podcast Network. We bring you the real story, why it matters, what's next, who wins the big game, and more, all in 30 minutes. The NBA Big 3 in 30 starts now with the biggest stories in the NBA. You are Locked On Thunder, your daily Oklahoma City Thunder podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
The Oklahoma City Thunder are NBA champions, winning 103-91 in Game 7. A Game 7 that nobody really knew what was going to happen in. I mean, you're talking pregame to people from Indiana, people here locally. Nobody thought anything in any certain way with any sort of conviction, right? They could have seen a multitude of outcomes happening, but this was the outcome tonight. Perhaps another night would have been the Pacers' night. Tonight was the Thunder's night in this ball game, and it didn't start out great for OKC in the sense of it was a back and forth game. There were certain moments, like the end of the first quarter, where the Thunder looked really good. There were dicey moments, like the second quarter in general, where the Thunder stumbled a little bit, and then at a halftime, this team put the perfect ending to a historic season. Nobody has to agree with you, but the fact remains that this is a historically great team. From all that they've done, from what they've done starting in October till now, it's all encompassing. You can't just grade this on how one series, partook a series in which you still won and still won the NBA championship. Yes, the NBA Finals at times got dicey for Oklahoma City, but the entire resume for the Thunder is historic. The entire resume for SGA is one of the best seasons we've ever seen from an individual player. You cannot like it. You can fight it. You can run from it. It's reality, though. And eventually, reality sets in. Eventually, you have to shine a light on what happened, and light is the best truth serum. And the truth is, the Thunder are world champions. The Thunder put together a great season and, again, ended it the perfect way because out of halftime, whenever they were down by 1, they were flying around. And what they were doing was playing lockdown defense on Indiana, who ends up with 91 points on 41, 39, 75 shooting splits. Indiana wins the rebounding battle, but loses the turnover battle 21-7, which let the Thunder get out into some transition opportunities and into some chances in the non-half court, which propelled their offense, which still stumbled at times in the half court. We can talk about that a different day, but really the second half was the Thunder playing to their identity of being a historically great team, was SGA hitting tough shots by getting to his spots routinely, and was his co-stars doing not only just enough, but more than what you would expect from a third-year guy and a year-and-a-half guy. Chet Holmgren's like Lion King 1.5. He was drafted in 2022. He's only played 1.5 years of NBA basketball, and the half comes after being bedridden for the majority of this season. So what those two guys did in the third quarter put to rest all of the worries of them being too young, because clearly they just won the championship, but also it should be really scary for the rest of the league if this is what this team looks like already, with where they're at, with the adversity that they faced, and what they're still building, what they're still going to get better at. But the second half, it was historically great defense. It was getting out and running more, and it was responses. And this whole season has been about responses. They responded to a bad second quarter. Whenever they'd go on these runs, Indiana would call the timeouts. And what happens historically in this series, after Rick Carlisle, who's one of the biggest crybabies in the world, more on that later, after Rick Carlisle would call timeouts, the Pacers would retaliate with a run of their own, and that's how Indiana's been able to not only stay in this series, but push it to 7. And this time, the Thunder kept the foot on the gas. I mean, their 22-point lead that they grew in the fourth quarter eventually did dip down to 10 points, but right when that happened, they shoved the Pacers aside and kept them at arm's length until eventually time ran out. Was it perfect? No. Was this a 48-minute masterpiece? No. But the core principles of why they won this game were the seeds that they planted back in October and were the seeds that they nurtured to eventually blossom in June to be champions. They weathered the storm in this game, 11 lead changes, 10 ties, and the Thunder had control in the second half and end up getting this championship. SGA gets finals MVP, and what a game. I mean, historically speaking, game sevens are a rock fight. They're played in the mud. This one, no different. So the efficiency numbers are horrendous for Shai, not even just by his standards, just in general. He shot 29% from the floor. He shot 16% from three. Some of that was Shai reverting back to what we talked about in the Denver series, where you're hunting for the kill shot a little bit too much. But some of that was just the nature of a game seven, where it's more physical and you are having to go up against, of course, a desperate, urgent defense that was playing great for Indiana. But all in all, this was a great game from Shai. 29 points, 12 assists. The ways that he was not only getting to his spot despite the best effort from Indiana to keep him from the elbow, keep him from that baseline jumper, keep him out of the paint. Indiana did everything right. It just didn't matter because Shai is simply better, because Shai is simply that guy. But once he got to those spots, instead of kind of having the tunnel vision for 48 minutes of trying to score, the amount of times that he sprayed the ball out, made the right read, and executed difficult passes. I mean, multiple jump passes, multiple whip passes to the corner, and skip passes on the outside whenever he was working outside, beyond the three-point line, led to the 12 assists and led to a Thunder offense that did just enough in the half court. And that was the difference tonight versus the losses for OKC, was that not only did they get out and run more, and they still weren't perfect in transition, but they got to get out and run more to eliminate some of those half court chances. And then in the half court, it was far from beautiful. At times, it looked like the Great Plains Comanche County tournament with Chattanooga playing, where you just couldn't buy a bucket. But they did enough in the margins because of Shai and what he did to lead this team to get this NBA championship. And what a game it was from Shai. I mean, Shai was awesome. We mentioned the third quarter. Chet had 18 points. It felt like they all came in the third quarter. Him and J-Dub and Shai, the first 32 points of the third, 22 of them came from that trio. And that's been the trio that you've rode with this entire season. That's what this entire house of cards is built on, is those three guys. And those three guys in the biggest moments of this game had the biggest makes, had the biggest opportunities. I mean, whenever the game was dicey, Chet Holmgren's massive rebound and getting put to the free throw line was huge. Like, these guys had the big opportunities and moments to win an NBA championship. Lou Dort only had 9 points, but one of the 2 threes that he hit was an actual miracle. I mean, this thing looked like it was a angels in the outfield type of heroics to pull off for Lou. But you cannot say enough, and we'll segue into kind of the big picture stuff about Alex Caruso and Isaiah Hartenstein. I mean, Hartenstein a quieter night than Caruso, but Hartenstein still delivered, man. I mean, the 4 assists were huge. Again, all those coming in the half court. 9 rebounds to help on the glass, 7 points from him. Again, limited minutes because of the series, but how can you make yourself impactful? In those limited minutes, he was a net positive. Shai was a plus 11. Jada was a plus 13. Chat was a plus 10. Alex Caruso a plus 8. And Alex Caruso, you can say what you want about the box scores and how other guys have flashier box scores. You do not win this NBA championship without Alex Caruso. You just don't. What he did as a steadying presence for this Thunder team was big. What he did generating plays, he had a steal, one of his 3, where he broke on the ball perfectly. That should be shown. As an Eisenhower alum who hopes to see the Eagles restore back to glory, that should be shown in the Eagles DB room this entire summer, teaching our DBs how to get some interceptions and go the other way, because Alex Caruso was a maniac out there. So was Cason Wallace, who had 3 steals as well. And it was just a great moment to where you look up and down this box score. You can remember plays from everybody who played to help win this game. And that's what it takes into game 7. It's all hands on deck, and you need contributions from everybody. The Thunder got that, and the Thunder win the NBA championship.
Ever check your bank account and wonder, where did all my money go? Between dining out, online shopping, and entertainment, it's easy to lose track. That's where Monarch Money comes in, your personal CFO, giving you full visibility and control over your finances. Monarch Money isn't just a budgeting app. It's a complete financial command center. You can track all your accounts, investments, and spending in one place. So stop just managing your money and start building wealth. Instead of juggling multiple apps, you can use Monarch to check your finances, track spending, and even plan long-term goals. Managing money with your partner is smoother than ever. You can track shared and personal accounts, set goals, and stay on the same page without the stress. Take control of your finances with Monarch Money. Use code LOCKEDONNFL at monarchmoney.com for 50% off your first year. That's monarchmoney.com, code LOCKEDONNFL for half off your first year.
A devastating day for the Indiana Pacers as they play Game 7 against the OKC Thunder, lose Tyrese Haliburton to injury in the first quarter.
You are Locked On Pacers, your daily Indiana Pacers podcast.
As devastating as it possibly gets for the Pacers, they get to a Game 7 of the finals. They're winning at halftime. They're all juiced up. They blow it in the second half. Tyrese Haliburton goes down with a potentially career-altering injury. I will say potentially, even though I think we all suspect we know what it is. Heartbreak on the biggest stage. Detracts, and by detracts, I mean distracts so much from the magical run. Derek Kramer from my Pacers blog, the closer, not in such a good mood as the last three closes, is here to talk about a game that somehow the Pacers looked like their resilience might pull them through, and in the end, they come up just short on the biggest stage once again. There's so many places to start. Haliburton trying to cut to the basket with the ball from the same spot. It looked like his calf was hurting in Game 5. Their dismal third quarter. The turnovers once again being a problem. The magic of the season masked by what just happened. Where does your mind go after a game like this? Because to me, there's just an endless amount of clouding thought going on all at the same time.
There's only one thought. There's only one. Like I couldn't even, I don't know, like my header says dead inside. That's what I feel. It's the hardest night that I've ever had as a sports fan.
It is truly under that banner of fandom about as painful of a night as there could possibly be because of both the injury and, of course, the results of the game. And the injury is actually where I will start, because I'm actually going to take what is apparently the unpopular take and stand up for Tyrese Haliburton and the Pacers here. It's a Game 7 of the finals. He should play. Like that is what you hope happens. You hope you have an opportunity to have that, even if it's you think about the health of next season or the health of his career. Maybe he's, and I think the favorite would be that he is not as good in the future, right? Okay, then even more chance that this is the best chance you have at a title with this core if he's not as good in the future, right? It's one game for the title. I think that with the odds that you can win one game, he should be playing, right? So I think that is actually the right choice, despite the fact that it obviously will have massive, unbelievable consequences, of which I will talk about when I preview the offseason in several days. This is not even close to the time for that. I actually think it was the right choice for him to play both of these games. He told Dustin Topirka, and we talked to him before Game 6 at his locker, that he knew the risks. He talked to people about them. He knew them. He wanted to play. He played great in Game 6. And I think a lot of the thinking about that being the wrong choice is just solely based on the fact that he actually got hurt. Like the bias is implicitly built in that this would have happened no matter what because it happened. And of course it's bad. It happened to Kevin Durant. It happened to Damian Lillard. That doesn't mean it's going to happen to everyone. Regardless of my own opinions on this, it obviously sucks for the Pacers and it's terrible. That also led to them losing. They were winning at halftime, but every player we talked to after the game, they were of course crushed because they lost. Undeniable fact. They were also crushed because you just lose your focus. Like I talked so much about how this game would be about mentality, right? More so than the X's and O's, because you never know how guys are going to feel going into it, how the moment's going to make guys rise or shrink. And then before the first quarter is over, there's this major franchise-altering event that happens that nobody can stop thinking about it. Right? I asked Obi Toppin, about the injury after the game. I'm sorry, Derek, I'm already just rambling forever. This is a very classic podcast. He said about the Haliburton injury, he said, I felt like that was my fault. Passed the ball to him, and then he paused for forever, which said more than anything he could say. And then he said, as soon as he went down, that bleep hurt. I ain't going to lie. I was thinking about that the whole game. He earlier, before that, said he felt like it was his fault because he played the worst game he played of the series. And I can't imagine those are not connected events, that he was distracted and played poorly. So I would like to give, first of all, the Pacers a ton of credit for being winning by halftime with the resources available. Once the Thunder's style took grip of the game, it was just kind of over. But they fought really hard, but it just became an insurmountable task of X's and O's perfection being required at the same time as overcoming just an impossible mental reality on the biggest stage possible.
Yeah, and I don't blame Haliburton for playing. I don't blame the training staff for telling him all the risks and giving him the choice. Like it's his career at the end of the day. Like and he looked good. I think that's the saddest part.
He still, as of us, the game is over. He led the game in threes made, right? Like he looked great, right?
Yeah. Like he was talking to somebody in the crowd, like somebody on Blue Sky tweeted me before the game that like somebody's talking trash to Haliburton. Like it felt like it was Game 7 in the Garden again. Yeah, like he got hot at the beginning of the game. Like it looked like he wasn't going to let this team lose. And that just makes everything that much more frustrating and just devastating.
It really does. So I would like to talk about the basketball reason they lost this game first. The third quarter was just terrible. I mean, they just imploded. And the reasons why were the same reasons that everybody talked about the whole series. In a 12-point loss, they lose the third quarter by 14. You can do the math about the rest of the game and how much the Pacers won or lost it by. They were tied at 56 with 8 minutes and 32 seconds to go in that quarter, and then down 13 by the end of it. They just completely fell apart. What'd you say?
Miles hit a 3 to tie it, and then they hit
Miles hit a 3 to tie it. You know, the next time after that Miles Turner 3 that anyone not named TJ McConnell scored, it was when Pascal Siakam hit an elbow jumper with about 7 minutes left in the fourth quarter. No one could make a thing. They were so disconnected. They were feeling these traps from OKC that trying to force the turnovers. And I'll give the Pacers credit. They were trying to do it right. They would run towards the player with the ball, but the passes were off. The execution was off. They were letting the pressure get to them. They weren't playing enough side to side with their pace. And I talked about this in the pregame episode with Adam. Like the team that plays more like themselves is going to be the team that looks better. And that was the Thunder, so much so in that quarter that the rest of the game where the Pacers played well enough, right? Again, they won the rest of the game by 2 points. Didn't matter at all. They were that bad in that stretch. And the stat is true and accurate that TJ McConnell scored every point they had in that run. It was 12 or 14 or something, like actually impressive scoring. But even he was not good. He turned it over a gazillion times. And a lot of those were on those traps I was talking about. But some of those were just like inexplicable. What are you doing plays as he drove to the basket or dribbled it off his knee or whatever. They just imploded. And that is really two things. That is one, a basketball failure. And two, the mentality creeping in. Like the second the Thunder went on that 3-steal, 3-steal-3 run where they went up 9, it felt like the Pacers were just like never able to fully get their lick back for the rest of the game. Whether that was a mental thing or a basketball thing, I don't know. What did you make of that quarter? Because obviously not having Haliburton was a big part of it, but they never could play like themselves in that frame.
Credit to TJ for doing everything he could. Yeah, he had some turnovers, but like he gave it his all out there. Pascal was absent for a lot of that stretch. Like it's hard to, like, I don't know what he played, 37 minutes or something. Like, I don't know. Like we've seen what Pascal looks like when he gets tired, trying to save him, but
it's not as good.
It's Game 7 of the finals. Like probably needed him out there more often.
And the other problem is every other front court player was bad today as well.
Yeah, it was not a great night for anybody. Yeah, in the front court outside of Pascal, even like he didn't seem like he had the best of games. Like you could tell his effort was all the way there. But yeah, the third quarter was clearly where they lost the rope a little bit, as they say. Too many turnovers, too many moments where they just kind of let the ball get away from them. Like that was the difference in the game. I don't know what the final tally of it ended up being, but at one point in that third quarter run, I know it was 20 points off of turnovers for the Thunder, only 5 for the Pacers. And like, that's where they run away with the game. And the previous one was flipping that script for once and doing what they did. The Thunder were much more prepared for finding who was going to be open on those shade double teams. Like he hit those a lot, especially in the first half. That's why he had so many assists. But yeah, it didn't work out.
3 games with 20-plus turnovers for the Pacers this series. They won the first one because they were able to save those plays with good transition defense. But then in games 5 and 7, they just could not at all mask that problem. This is what the Thunder do. They're going to turn you over a million times. That's why the Pacers looked so good when they were at 15 or fewer turnovers in the series per shot. Like every game or most games of the series, they were about as good as the Thunder. They had a better shooting percentage in this game. They shot 12% better from three in this game. They made more the same number of free throws in this game, but you make 6 less shots and are even on threes. You're just kind of toast, right? And that's because they just give up so many extra chances throughout these games against the Thunder. We know this. We've talked about this exact thing 10 trillion times in the series. It's just how they play.
FanDuel is giving new customers an incredible way to get in on the action while you still have a chance. Right now, when you join FanDuel and place your first $5 bet, you'll get $250 in bonus bets if your bet wins. You can place that first $5 bet on some NFL playoff dark horses. The Carolina Panthers sit at plus 240 to reach the postseason. The Bears plus 190 and the new look Raiders plus 320. Don't miss out. Head to FanDuel.com and claim your $250 in bonus bets today.
Kevin Durant traded to the Houston Rockets. KD is a Rocket. Wow, that is going to take some getting used to be able to say. It's been a crazy trade saga with the Rockets emerging as one of the finalists to land Kevin Durant. The reporting from Shams Charania suggests that it came down to the Houston Rockets and the Miami Heat in the wee hours of the night, and they went back and forth with the Suns, and ultimately Phoenix electing to go with the Phoenix package, or the Rockets package, I should say, of Jalen Green, Dillon Brooks, the number 10 overall pick, and 5 future second-round draft picks. We're going to focus on the transactional part of this deal in just a moment, but let's just take a moment and think about what adding Kevin Durant to this young Rockets team means. First off, they add Kevin Durant to a team that just came off a 52-win season. They add Kevin Durant to a team that has one of the best young head coaches in the entire association, in Ime Udoka. They add Kevin Durant to a team that's biggest weakness this past year, despite managing to win 52 wins in the regular season, despite taking a very talented Warriors team all the way to 7 games. The Rockets' most glaring weakness was their inability to get buckets when they needed them. The fact that they did not have a true 1A scoring option at the end of games. Sometimes you, sometimes me, always us. It was a beautiful mantra to have throughout the regular season. And there were times where it very much felt that way, right? Where the Rockets were greater than the sum of their parts. But there were too many games that were lost both in the regular season and specifically in the playoffs against the Warriors, where they just could not manufacture points at the end of a game, where they did not have a talent good enough to be able to step up and win them a basketball game. Kevin Durant gives them that. This is as clear a signal as you can get from the Houston Rockets that they are in win now mode. Kevin Durant is now your best player on the floor, and the changes or any other subsequent changes that we will see with the roster will ultimately reflect that. KD steps into a situation where he gets to be the number 1 option on a team that already has a stalwart defensive identity. Kevin Durant is still a very capable and plus level defender in his own right. So he fits in and will mesh with that team identity immediately. There's no questions about that. Ime Udoka and Kevin Durant have a pre-existing relationship. Ime has coached KD before. Ime knows exactly what to expect by adding Kevin Durant to this Rockets team. Kevin Durant elevates this Rockets team from one of the young, plucky, upstart teams in the NBA that had a really bright future in this exciting young core into an immediate win-now contending move without, and this is the important notion here that I want Rockets fans to remember, without sacrificing their long-term ability to contend at the highest level. This is both a win-now move as well as a move that, given the cost of the assets that you sent out, Jalen Green, Dillon Brooks, the number 10 pick, and 5 second-round picks, you still have a monumental treasure trove of assets down the line. You still have the bright futures of Alperen Şengün, Jabari Smith Jr., who is integral. Keeping him was huge in this deal. Tari Eason, Amin Thompson, Cam Whitmore, Reed Shepherd. Keeping 6 out of the 7 members of the young core while still adding KD to a team that just won 52 games this past season and could have been more, honestly, addressing literally the team's biggest weakness. This is the most slam dunk move of slam dunk moves. And yes, there are still some slight concerns on the surface. KD will be 37 next year. He has a pre-existing injury history. These are very valid concerns looking at the Rockets acquiring KD. However, the Rockets should be in a position that they can mitigate some of those concerns. They don't have to heavily rely on KD getting them a guaranteed 25, 30, 35 a night in order to be able to win games. They've got plenty of other guys that can do the heavy lifting throughout the 82-game slog of the regular season, or even throughout a 48-minute basketball affair. KD doesn't need to be KD for this team to be able to have a chance to win games every night. KD can literally just slot in and take the shot diet of Dillon Brooks and Jalen Green, pick up some of their attempts, and then you just increase the roles for guys like Alperen Sengun, a bigger role offensively for him, a bigger role substantially for Amin Thompson offensively, maybe a bigger role for Jabari Smith Jr. offensively, who will probably be reinserted into the starting lineup now with the losses of both Jalen Green and Dillon Brooks. Bigger roles for Reed Shepherd and Cam Whitmore. The Rockets have more than enough talent to close the gap offensively while adding KD and allowing him to maybe coast a little bit at times. Let him step in and be your closer. Let him be the guy that gets you a bucket when you absolutely need it. But this Rockets team will absolutely still be able to win on the backs of their defense, and they won't need Kevin Durant to drop 25 or 30 every single night for them to have a remote chance to win games. And that mantra of sometimes you, sometimes me, always us, it can still apply to this team. And there can be nights where KD has a super quiet, efficient 18, 20 points, and other guys step up to the plate and win big. And the Rockets are going to be able to win a lot of games with this new dynamic. Adding a 7-foot-tall, arguably one of the most unguardable, if not the most unguardable scorer in NBA history, a future Hall of Famer, to this Rockets team has them painted as at least, on paper, going to the Western Conference Finals next season. You can even just look at this team from this year, and if you just replace Jalen Green and Dillon Brooks with Kevin Durant, that team easily gets past the Warriors. That team easily gets past the Minnesota Timberwolves. And that team puts up a really, really good fight against the OKC Thunder that are now in the NBA Finals, approaching Game 7 with the Indiana Pacers. I've maintained this. This Thunder team is not unbeatable, but you got to take a swing. And that's exactly what Rafael Stone, Ime Udoka, and the Houston Rockets did. They took a massive swing for Kevin Durant. They did not mortgage their future. And this is a trade that puts them firmly in the championship discussion starting next season.